Hello, students. Got a couple questions that came in out of 7.2. So let's take a brief look and see. Questions 12, 19, and then MC number 6. All right, so let's take 7.2, number 12. So if I scroll down here, let's see here. When you multiply a positive number less than 1 by a decimal greater than 1, will the result always be greater than 1? Okay. So let's take a look. Now, we are going to be multiplying. So this is where we want to kind of make sure we understand the big ideas here. If you multiply by a number, so if I take a number A and I multiply by B, and I'll tell you that B is greater than 1, then A times B is going to be greater than A times 1. It's like taking this and multiplying both sides by A, which is again, some positive number. So A times B is going to be greater than A times 1, which is A. So this is basically saying you take some number and you multiply by a value bigger than 1, it gets bigger. Okay? It gets bigger than what you started with. And likewise, if you had A times C, and C was less than 1, then think about this expression and multiply both sides by A, and you will have that A is actually now greater. So A times C is less than A. So multiply by a value less than 1 size-wise, and you get something that shrinks in value. So now the question is a little bit different down here. So we understand, and multiply by something bigger than 1, it gets bigger. Multiply by something less than 1, it gets smaller. And you can kind of think about it when they're comparing it here. Will the result always be greater than 1? So we're trying to think about the number 1 itself. So if we had a fraction, we can think of these decimals as fractions. That's what they really are. And we said, let's say that we had 0.3 as a fraction number, right? Now just think in your mind, that would be 3/10. Could you multiply by a decimal greater than 1? Okay, so think of multiplying this by a decimal greater than 1. And could you get back to exactly the number 1? Okay. And what a great question, right? What could I multiply by 0.3 to get back to 1? Well, if you think of it as a fraction, you would multiply by the multiplicative inverse, the reciprocal. So you multiply by 10/3, and that would get you back to 1 itself. When you're dealing with decimals, it's a little bit more complicated. You do have to convert this into a decimal, and we would get something like 3 1/3 remaining, which would be 3.3 repeating. So is it possible to multiply a decimal less than 1 by something greater than 1 and get back to 1 itself? And the answer is yes, we could. Now, you got to pick the values, though. So if you started with 0.3, just think, could you choose a decimal number where you'd multiply these together and you'd get something less than 1? And I hope you can figure out, hey, yeah, we can do that. And likewise, could you choose maybe a different value here and get something greater than 1? And the answer is, yeah, probably so. And the goal here is for you to put that into your own words and explain. Doesn't have to be these values. You could choose other values. And again, for your own explanation, make sure you can do it with other values. All right, there's the big picture there. Let's take a look. What was the next one? 19. All right, 19. Keith bought 30 pounds of nuts. Okay, well, I'm pretty sure I already posted this one, but let me double check. Let's double check. Oops, gotta sign back in. Of course. There we go. Come on. There we go. All right, so I'll jump to Math 105. And I'm pretty sure I did a video for 7.2 number 19. Yep, there it is, 7.2 number 19. So that one does have a video already. And let's see here. Lastly was MC number 6. And again, I put an MC number 6 video already, so I'm just going to link back to those. But yeah, this one is, if you think about it, it's kind of strange maybe as you're trying this one because there's a lot of pieces going on. But just picture that the dollars per pounds, once you think of purchasing a certain number of pounds, all you have left is money, right? Yeah, you got 30 pounds of these, whatever kind of nuts they are, but then you have a certain amount of money that you paid for it. So it's not really too much to think about that as kind of a bigger picture. Is the product of two positive decimals, each less than one, always less than each of the decimals? Well, anyway, hopefully, again, I think I already did hit this one, but just remember I guess it was right at the beginning of this piece. If you multiply by a value that is less than one, a positive number less than one, you are going to end up with something smaller than you started with. It doesn't matter whether you started with a number bigger than one or a number less than one. When you multiply, it's going to be less than what you started with. And all of that hinges on those properties of equality or properties of inequality, depending on which one you want to do. But you just start with a number. Pick a number and tell me that that number is between 0 and 1. Okay, so there we know. Now it's between 0 and 1. Now multiply by some value b that is positive. So take a positive value and multiply. Now you're going to have 0 times b is less than a times b is less than b because you're multiplying by 1. I could put that as 1 times b. So you end up with 0 is less than a times b is less than b. So if you just picked any positive number at all, you multiply by a value that's less than 1, and that product is smaller than what you started with. Smaller than the number you started with. And you can reverse the thinking on those digits as well. So that's kind of the big picture there. All right, I think that is it for right now. So hopefully that gives you a push in the right direction. All right, off you go.